Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we explore the 10 best Van Gogh paintings you should know about. Before we get started, be sure to give that like button a little love and hit subscribe to stay in the loop for future exciting content. Vincent van Gogh, 1853 to 1890, is one of a handful of artists whose name is instantly recognizable by nearly everyone. The outline of his story is generally well known. Born into an upper-middle-class family in Holland, Van Gogh exhibited artistic tendencies from a tender age, but only took up painting in 1881 at age 28. Though he attended art schools in Antwerp and Paris, he was largely self-taught, yet he still managed to become one of the most important figures in Western art. 1. Vincent van Gogh, The Potato Eaters, 1885. Produced 4 years after Van Gogh began to paint in earnest, The Potato Eaters is generally considered his first major work, though it's a far cry from the furious brushwork and intense palettes of his most familiar paintings. Instead, this scene of poor farmers having dinner is dark, brooding, and somewhat creepy, given the distorted features of the subjects. This may account for why Van Gogh's brother, Theo, who was also his dealer, had difficulty selling the piece. 2. Vincent van Gogh, Head of a Skeleton with a Burning Cigarette, 1886. Van Gogh moved from his native Holland to Antwerp, Belgium in 1885 to attend classes at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts, which he would later dismiss as boring and useless. It was around this time that he painted this darkly humorous image as a jab at the drawing curriculum of the school, which included making sketches of skeletons to gain mastery of the human form. 3. Vincent van Gogh, The Night Café, 1888. In 1886, Van Gogh moved to Paris, where he would meet artists such as Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, Paul Signet, and Paul Gauguin, and where he would eventually produce some 200 paintings. But even by then, Van Gogh was a mess. He drank heavily, ate poorly, and had been hospitalized back in Antwerp, supposedly for treatment of syphilis among other ailments. He quarreled with brother Theo, with whom he lived, and after 2 years of being in Paris, decided that he had enough of the city. Debilitated by too much drinking and smoking, Van Gogh decamped for Arles in the south of France in 1888 with the aim of starting an artist colony. He rented a home he called the Yellow House, which he also christened the Studio of the South, with the hope of attracting other artists to Arles, especially Gauguin, whom Van Gogh repeatedly entreated to join him. Arles was also where Van Gogh forged his signature style out of a range of sources that included Japanese prints, Impressionism, and Pointillism. The Night Café is a case in point, a scene of a bar interior. It's painted in clashing colors to convey the seediness of the place, which was known as a favorite hangout for vagrants and prostitutes. 4. Vincent van Gogh, Portrait of Joseph Ruland, 1889. A postal official in Arles, Ruland was also Van Gogh's neighbor, and a frequent subject for what Van Gogh boasted was a new kind of portraiture, in which the sitter's essence was captured through color instead of likeness. 5. Vincent van Gogh, Van Gogh's Chair, 1888. Gauguin finally joined Van Gogh in Arles for a 3-month stay between October and December of 1888. It wasn't exactly smooth sailing, however. When they weren't busy arguing about art, the two artists worked side by side, though their egos clashed constantly. This forlorn image is actually half of what's essentially a double portrait of Van Gogh and Gauguin, in which the chairs they respectively used in the studio become substitutes for the artists themselves. The eventual falling out between the two artists led to Van Gogh cutting off his ear, though some accounts maintain that he only disfigured it. 6. Vincent van Gogh, Self-Portrait with Bandaged Ear, 1889. This painting is one of 2 commemorating Van Gogh's self-mutilation, though this was the first one he did after returning from the hospital. He's seen bundled up as if his studio lacked heat, which, given Van Gogh's chronic poverty, was a distinct possibility. In the background, you can see a ukiyo-e woodblock print hung on the wall, which speaks to Van Gogh's fascination with Japanese art. 7. Vincent van Gogh, The Starry Night, 1889. Probably Van Gogh's most famous and popular painting, The Starry Night is inspired, among other things, a treacly 1971 ballad by the musician Don McLean. For most people, the swirling, cyclonic tone of the painting is a direct reflection of Van Gogh's reputation as a turbulent soul. Indeed, he painted the scene while he was a patient at the St. Paul Mental Asylum in St. Remy, where he sought treatment for depression and hallucinations. 8. Vincent van Gogh, Irises, 1889. Another canvas that came out of Van Gogh's stay in St. Remy. Arises is one of many floral studies he made in the asylum's garden. 9. Vincent van Gogh, Dr. Paul Gachet, 1890. By 1890, Van Gogh was beginning to garner praise for his work from critics and fellow artists alike. He was included in exhibitions such as the Artists' Independence in Paris, where Claude Monet pronounced his work the best in show. Yet, at the same time, he suffered a relapse of his mental afflictions after a period in which they seemed to ease. Following the recommendation of artist Camille Pissarro, Theo decided that Van Gogh should seek treatment from Dr. Paul Gachet, a physician and painter who traveled in avant-garde circles. In May of 1890, Van Gogh moved to Auvers-sur-Oise, where Gachet maintained his practice. Van Gogh, who wrote to Theo that Gachet seemed iller than I am, painted this portrait of the good doctor, one of several, as a fellow depressive. 10. Vincent van Gogh, Wheatfield with Crows, 1890. This scene of crows taking flight from a wheat field was painted in Auvers-sur-Oise in July of 1890, shortly before Van Gogh committed suicide by shooting himself in the chest. He lingered for 30 hours before death, claimed him at age 37. In retrospect, it's tempting to see the painting as a kind of suicide note, with its flock of black, wing-shaped brush marks ascending into a sky that is practically writhing with frenetic dashes of blue. Van Gogh wrote to Theo that the wheat fields he encountered that summer seemed to reflect sadness and extreme loneliness, but also the invigorating effect of being in the country. Wheatfield with Crows embodies both feelings, as well as a promise of release from a tortured life. Please support and show appreciation by hitting super thanks. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. We appreciate you being part of our community. Until next time, take care and stay awesome.